that they definitely have some faith in this player. This guy definitely has some serious skills, but he just didn't show up with his A game today. Maybe a bit of nerves. Those big stims we saw, the little slight control mistakes with his Marines taking too many siege tank fires. He was a little bit shaky there, and instead of that, perhaps maybe you should have tried to avoid Yoda's army, because Yoda had air control, so he was always going to take a losing fight just trying to compete with that sitting there.
Like, the longer that fight, that kind of stalemate there in the middle went on, the more of an advantage Yoda would get just slowly over time with the Banshees, with picking off medevacs, Vikings, such like this with the air advantage. But looking at Yoda, he looks pretty good. I'm really excited for him on Prime, rather, to continue winning games over and over and over again. This guy is actually very strong, and just because he's on Prime doesn't mean that he can't win a bunch of games.
Oh, absolutely. Just that last game, I feel like is definitely, I guess, what's the word I'm looking for here? It's definitely one of the perfect examples of what can happen to a player when the pressure is on at the highest level, like right down at your third base, and you can get a little bit tense, a little bit nervous, do big stims like that. And this is the kind of experience I feel like Journey needs. So maybe this is part of the reason why Stork and the coaching staff at Samsung decided to put him out first, because they want him to sit in that booth and have more experience in these high-pressure situations.
You know what? Stork was saying we came out with this roster today to win, but I'm not sure if I can 100% agree with that, especially with Solar not coming out here. I mean, I guess he didn't have the greatest game last time, but and he did go down to Dream 03 and SSL. But Dream's an incredibly strong player, and I feel like Solar as well is a very strong player. And I feel like if they were coming here to win, they would have played him. But regardless, we do have Hurricane here, the second player coming out for Samsung Galaxy Con. He is 0-2 so far against Terran. We were talking about before. He has come out a bunch of times in the last season of Pro League for Samsung Galaxy Con. He didn't really see too many games, but trying to get that experience.
This guy was an incredible player on Epic's Open as a sniper, and then he became a really strong Protoss player in late game. He was a really good macro player, just all-around solid player that they put out first, even oftentimes, but has not performed in Pro League. Now, TANGTANG, it feels like I just met you, and this is crazy, but I have seen you at every single GSL qualifier there has ever been. This guy is the famous TANGTANG. You can finally see his face on camera.
That's him, man.
This is real. This is happening. This is crazy. But that's his number, man. He's 0-0, and he has not played on a televised match just yet. This is his very first time in his career to do so.
I'm really excited to actually see this guy play today in front of everybody, in front of the entire audience. He's a qualifier guy, the guy that comes out over and over and over again. But this time, he gets his time in the spotlight to shine.
Well, this guy is obviously pretty good. He has actually eliminated big fan favorites in the past in those qualifiers. Definitely can take some serious sets here. And he's up against Hurricane, who struggled in Pro League. Let's find out he can actually tie it up.
Up here in the top left in the red, the Protoss player for Samsung Galaxy Con, it is Hurricane.
For those old school fans, he used to be known as Tier. And over here to the bottom, or excuse me, top right in blue, it's TANGTANG, the Terran. No one knows what his ID means, but it means something to me.
What does it mean to you, Wolf?
I think it just means, it's basically the ultimate form of perseverance. That's what I see in TANGTANG, man. He tries every time.
Is that what you see, Wolf?
That's what I see. He tries every time.
Tries every time.
So, let's see what he's got coming out here today. We're playing on merry-go-round here, 3-player map, and respond horizontally. Doesn't really matter all too much because the map's basically an equilateral triangle. But I would expect to see something really aggressive out of TANGTANG. maybe even a drop build. He didn't take a gas first, so doesn't look like it's going to be that. In fact, it's going to go for the CC first. That's another way of being aggressive, if you want to think about it that way, is be aggressive economically. Do something that might throw your opponent off guard. I like that choice.
Yeah, if you think about it, he's a Terran on Prime, who is another Terran that used to be on Prime, that used to do this kind of thing very greedily all the time. It's Marine King, and he may have learned from an older brother that this is the way to play Terran against Protoss, but we'll have to see.
Yep. I don't even want to translate what that sign said.
So, I didn't actually catch it. But we do have a very early scout coming out of Hurricane. Of course, an early scout from a Protoss can also mean hiding your probe somewhere and putting down a proxy.
Sure. That's something that we've seen from Hurricane in the past. A player who is often very aggressive, like I said, uses snipe builds a lot, is very well versed in that. And he actually came out oftentimes as a PvT sniper, sometimes with cheeses, sometimes with really solid double forge, upgrade creator prime style play. Comes over here, sees the CC first, is going to harass it just a little bit. Notice the shift Q there, actually on the SCV to make sure the probe constantly follows it.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, TANGTANG has an SCV that could block a Nexus, but he's not actually using it.
Yeah, he's just busy actually trying to save the SCV in his own base because that probe's on a mission to hunt it down, but it does get pushed away as the repair goes on, as well as the attack. This is kind of annoying for TANGTANG, but he is getting that CC ultra early here. So he will be forced to pull off some SCVs to defend it against an annoying probe.
For sure. His SCV scout saw the Nexus go down. Just coming home now. Doesn't even take a stab at that probe. And obviously with the double barracks he has, his Marine production is starting. And what he needs to be concerned about, of course, is what is the tech of Hurricane? What is the fog? Is he going to be sending oracles my way? Is he going to do a blink feign? Is he going to do a blink all in? Is he going to do an immortal all in? I need to find out. And without Reapers, scouting this is so hard. And you might be saying, well, Wolf, he could just scan. The thing is, if you scan, what if you miss? And you don't know where the pylons are because you didn't have a Reaper. And he didn't send the SCV into the main to check the pylon locations either, so he has no idea.
And a scan is a whole mule gone, which is a huge hurt to your economy. You do not want to lose all of those minerals, so of course that's coming in. And we do have a Twilight Council coming down here for Hurricane. He's got this Stalker scouting around the map just to make sure there's no stray SCVs that could possibly come into the base.
Really like the placement of that Twilight Council. Knowing his opponent wasn't able to check his pylons, it's going to be, if he just does a, scan around the main base, he might miss that. It's going to be blink. We'll see how much he commits to that, because it could be one of these feign builds where you just make it look like you're going to do an all-in, and then you take a fast third base. SCV scout over here, going to go and check to see if there's any crazy fast Nexus, but does actually get denied by the Stalker.
Yep, will be killed here. SCV tries to go to the base, but will be destroyed. And now the Stalker can go to the front and just pressure a bit, be annoying at that bunker. We do have a second bunker coming up here.
Yeah, just for safety. Seeing that Stalker move across the map can often make you nervous. Something else to note is that he went for a fast third CC. TANGTANG did, so his stim and everything else is going to be slightly delayed. He knows there's only one Marine in the bunker here. He's just going to pick off another SCV and do a little bit more damage, just taking some shield damage. Very nicely done. But this is really scary right now for TANGTANG since he went for that third CC, so he has to make extra bunkers. He has to be careful. And finally now, that research can begin at the Tech Labs. A Dark Shrine coming up too.
A couple extra gates. He does have the robotics facility as well, so it's probably going to be drops. Make that Warp Prism can drop some DTs in the main while pressuring the front. Could be like Blink Feign into trying to do a lot of damage with some DTs in the main. Really annoying build. It's something you talked about before. There's like 1,000,001 ways to kill a Terran as a Protoss.
Yeah.
So a lot of times, as the Terran, you're like, oh no, I just got to defend against everything. And that's what actually SOS used to his advantage with the hallucination to get the Terran on the back foot and actually just get ahead in economy while adding that third Nexus. But here, this looks like real aggression out of Hurricane.
And that scan that we saw there was just exactly what I was talking about. That standard scan in the main. Sees the Robo, but it's not enough. Still stressful here. This map, on the other hand, not a map you really have to worry about blink into the main at all because you just simply can't. So that's something else to consider. as to why he's only making the bunkers at the front here. It'd be kind of absurd for him to make a bunker at the main base. So a big warp in the Stalkers here is going to show a lot of this. Keep the focus at the main base. Then the warp prism, like you were saying before, is going to do some VT harass. Does have an observer here, so I mean he can blink into the main. There's a few units already ready for him though. It's already going to start fighting this.
He has not shown blink yet. That's one thing to note. He's actually waiting for the perfect time. A nice scan there on the observer. He knew that the Stalkers could see those guys. And here we go. 2 DTs have been warped in, and they're being shuttled right into the main base.
Yep, well, there's that bunker on the high ground here. You know, you don't normally have to worry about blink on this map too much, but
he may have actually baited out that scan with the observer, because that's one scan that he's not going to be able to use on the DTs, which are now doing a ton of damage. He's also going to blink in at the same time, and he can focus down that stim.
And that's so huge here. And now stim is gone. And this is, again, just a pressure play. This is not an all-in. This is just a really technical pressure he's able to put on here.
He's got 52 probes behind this. He's continually building those probes. He's taking a 3rd Nexus at the same time. And stim, one of the most important upgrades as the Terran, has been delayed so much.
No, I feel he thought he had enough units to skip the bunker there. I wouldn't have faulted him for that, but I mean, the blink comes in, protects his DTs, and finally there's vision to stop this DT from getting any more kills. But the scan might actually get the observer too. Nope, not without stim. He can't chase it.
Yeah. He has done so much damage right now. He's delayed stim. He's killed 16 SCVs. He's forced 1 million scans. He's forced missile turrets as well. All this while he's getting his 3rd base. TANGTANG, he does have his 3rd CC. That is one thing he does have going for him. So he can try to compete on an economic stage. But again, he's just way behind in terms of upgrades as well.
Yeah, that observer here does spot this entire army, by the way, and knows exactly how big it is. He's got 5 gates coming up.
Yeah, already Colossi production. He's got the +1 to armor, which matches the +1 to attack for TANGTANG.
And with the 3rd base economy he's got, he can support all these gates, the Colossus production at the same time, as well as that 2nd forge. And TANGTANG has to move out and do some damage. He actually has to go out here and be aggressive now. But when he does, that's when these backstabs become possible.
He's focusing down the stim. He's trying to delay it again.
Not going to happen, though. Good micro here by TANGTANG, actually, with a stop position on his SUVs. He is going to take some losses regardless,
There's a lot of zealots in the main base, so TANGTANG's like, I can't go back, actually.
Yeah. He's actually just going to rely on his defensive, rounds of production. But here we go. 1 Colossus here. Now a 2nd one joins. The Nexus cannon goes up. TANGTANG is hesitating. And meanwhile, his base is in tatters.
He doesn't have stim yet. He doesn't have stim.
He's dead, man. His base is trashed. He's got no ability to retreat here. The Stalkers have blink.
God.
He's actually just dying. This is happening.
Scratches his head. Oh man, he is not happy with this one. Hurricane, amazing play so far in this game. The harass he has done with the DTs, with the Zealots, delaying the stim, killing all of these SCVs, now getting 22 extra SCVs. He's putting TANGTANG in such a hard spot.
Well, this is going to be pretty gross. +1 about to finish for this Protoss army. And here he goes. Tries his best to make this work. But the Stalkers can blink and chase. Tries to drop on top of the Colossi. Not a bad choice, but he still just doesn't have enough. GG.
Hurricane will take the first game here for Samsung Galaxy Con over TANGTANG. Really got to hand it to this guy. Really awesome Protoss play. Some of the most annoying play, especially for you Terran players out there. You're watching that game, you're like, oh god, this is what I hate to see on ladder. Like, I'm sure you guys have faced this time and again. But Hurricane brings it out here on the main stage against TANGTANG and shows him who's boss.
Yep, even giving a little ceremony, getting hugs from the players. Very well played. That game was weird, just simply because it was so technical. I feel like I don't blame TANGTANG for skipping the bunker in the main, but he didn't quite have his units in the right spot. He had them all at the natural, and then the Warp Prism comes in. He doesn't have turrets. And he lost stim, which, like you mentioned several times, is so important as a Terran. It's like the #1 upgrade you need. It's like trying to start your car without having your car keys, man. You're trying to play TP without having stim. It's just probably not going to work, right? Unless you're playing mech, which is probably not going to work, right?
Yeah.
So
it's just, again, that hard situation you can get in as Terran, where he didn't have the scout. He saw the robotics facility, like you said, with the scan. but he didn't see the Twilight Council. He saw Stalkers. He was assuming, it could possibly be Blink here, but how many bunkers am I going to make? I just saw that SOS game last week. I'm knowing that Protoss can put on this pressure and also take a third base. What do I do? It's a hard spot as the Terran.
He had a risky third CC. Just played a bit greedy there and just got punished. So, before we go into our third set of the night, guys, we're going to have a 2-minute break. It's going to be a pretty short one. We'll see you right after.